It's official. We are back in the Ram Cave. This is RamView. Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the August 23rd, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law. They've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Outsiders Christian Camp Ministries, a place where your life can change. It is wonderful to be back here. I love Pennsylvania. Of all the 14 or 18 states I drove through the last few weeks, Pennsylvania was great. The Keystone State is great. My room was great. It just wasn't the Ram Cave, and it was really hard doing those shows from the hotel room where I'd have to throw my brother out. And we're still kind of off track. It is Friday, but it is 2 o'clock West Coast time, and generally we try to get on by 5 p.m. West Coast time. We're going to get back into that rhythm as we get into next week. Maybe change it a little bit when we get close to Monday Night Football. But we will be back in a normal rhythm. I'm not expecting too many folks to see me right now. I just wanted to get this one in because there's just a lot of back stuff that I wanted to get to, and some breaking news about Alaric Jackson that wasn't good. So we'll get into all that.
Stay in your lane, bro.
I am staying in my lane, but we're still going to be talking Ram football. It's good to be here. Colin Coward, a couple days ago, says he likes the Rams to go to an NFC title game. Well, welcome to the party, pal. We've been talking about that for a while. If you're a Ram fan, you know that is a destination for the Rams. Again, he was smart. He didn't say they were going to win it. He didn't say they'd go to the Super Bowl and win that either. That's not what we're saying. But the Rams window is definitely open. And when you're a conference title contender, that means your window is open. Going back to this Aaron Donald's loss, this is going to sound sacrilege. It's going to sound really sacrilege. A lot of you guys are going to come after me for this. But Aaron Donald's loss is overrated defensively. I love Aaron Donald. We want Aaron Donald back. I wish Aaron Donald played another 5 years. But the Rams have built enough. They got enough out of what their last draft was in 2023 and this season that we should see something special. We'll see a balanced defense. Of course, it's always going to have its holes. We're going to find out if Bobby Brown wants a second contract in the NFL, let alone with the Rams. And we're going to find out if Tyler Davis can play. You need those dudes to clog up the middle to open up opportunity for Braden Fisk and, of course, the conductor. So we're excited about that stuff. Jared Verse, Byron Murphy, Byron Young. I mean, this is really exciting. You hope EJ, Ernest Jones' knee holds up. This team is really good on defense. It's got a big opportunity on defense, and I think his loss, Aaron Donald's loss, is going to be overrated. And you can hit me on that if you want. It's not to be disrespectful of him. Now, if the dude comes back, that's even better. Matthew Stafford is seriously underrated. I'm going across the country, and I'm hearing talks about great quarterbacks here, great quarterbacks there. Matthew Stafford is severely underrated. I get so sick of hearing people talk about Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson's good. I think Lamar Jackson is a guy that gets better. He's worked hard to improve his game, but Lamar Jackson isn't even close to Matthew Stafford, and I don't care about MVPs. It's about the ring. Could Lamar Jackson perform what Matthew Stafford did at the end of Super Bowl 56, final drive of the game, team trailing, and you go and take them on this epic drive? And I'm not even talking about the no-look pass to Cooper Kupp, but Matthew Stafford is severely underrated. And, of course, they're calling the Rams now America's team. And if you followed this team, at least in Super Bowl 56, I'm taking shots from Steeler fan Rob that season in 2023 and in the spring of 2022, late in 2021, talking about how the Rams bill is going to come due. And, of course, he was just parroting what the other talking heads in the KBM were saying, Rams bill is going to come due. That Von Miller stuff, all those bills are going to come due. Well, what happened to the bill coming due, right? If you understand where this team has been, you understand why the bill never did come due. And you can't hold 2022 as some evidence that the bill came due, right? 2022 along that offensive line was a historically catastrophic season with all the injuries there, right? When you're bringing in Matt Skura, he takes off his orange apron and ends up playing for the Rams from Home Depot. You understand, and so there was so much going on there that it didn't make any sense to really hold that accountable. The bill was not due in 2022. Wildman Samurai, hey bro, really enjoy your channel. Go Rams. Thank you very much, man. I don't think we've met, but thank you. I hope you've liked and subscribed. I appreciate that, Wildman. 2023, when Vegas was predicting the Rams to be a 4.5 win team, they were only a second edge rusher and a competent kicker away from having returned to the NFC title game. That was last year. And now the window is open again for the next 3 years. And of course, that doesn't guarantee anything. It doesn't guarantee people are going to be healthy. It doesn't guarantee what broke with Alaric Jackson about an hour ago. That doesn't guarantee anything, but we do know the window is open. And to be in the discussion, again, that kind of reminds you the bill doesn't come due. The bill hasn't come due because the Rams are the example. I mean, whoever would have thunk it, right? What the Rams endured, Ram fans endured for so long, under the Frontier administration there. Who would have thunk that the Rams would become a model franchise? And the Rams are a model franchise. Okay, getting the news. I prepared the show. We had gotten ready to go, and then the news broke about Alaric Jackson being suspended for the first 2 games. And there was no information on what he did, but he's being suspended for 2 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. That it's 2 games doesn't sound like it's too big. And so that's a good thing, but you got to wonder what is the issue here. On the flip side, that ankle gets a couple more weeks to rest up. That's good for the Rams going down the road. But I can tell you what I think it means. And it depends on the nature of it. And again, it all goes down to the nature, but it could put him in limbo for an extension in 2025 that the Rams will go after a left tackle in the next draft or in free agency. Because here's the thing, if it's anything really bad, one thing you know about the Rams is they don't suffer fools. They just do not suffer fools. And they are a character-driven team. That's not fanboying. That's just saying what it is. The Rams are a character-driven team. And the only thing that's really happened was Darian Kendrick's arrest after midnight last year. Think of it, in the McVay era, no domestic violence, no arrests, all these things that usually plague other teams, Bengals and Steeler receivers. None of these things are happening to the Rams. And so Alaric Jackson, it's really interesting to think what he's got. Now, the good news is the Rams still have Joe Noteboom, and that means Joe Noteboom will be looking at Aiden Hutchinson week 1 in Detroit. And so it's going to be interesting, but a couple of challenges for the Rams. I feel bad in one sense for Alaric Jackson. If he didn't do anything crazy, is that the guy's worked so hard, an undrafted free agent out of Iowa, to work himself into this position, and you'd hate to see him sabotage his entire career. Wildman Samurai, do you think we should sign another cornerback? Witherspoon is somebody everybody wants. I think Ram fans want Witherspoon back if you don't have to play him too much and keep him fresh. He kind of died in the second half last season. I think when they cut the guy from Detroit, was that Jerry Jacobs? I think as opposed to maybe looking for another corner, I think it was just a feeling that 2 things. One, Darius Williams is going to be okay. And then the other one is, look at these guys. Is it Wallace, Josh Wallace? I don't want to say William Wallace. I think it's Josh Wallace. And, of course, Jalen McCullough. The Rams are impressed with them. And I'm going to get into the Ram cornerback room here in a minute. Man, I'm answering questions early because I'm excited to talk to you guys again. Tim Powers, is Limmer going to push Avila to a different position to compensate for Jonah Jackson? Well, I think they're saying Jackson's ready to go. I don't think there's a problem there. But it's funny you mention it, though. Limmer down the road is that guy that, I don't know if he could flash to guard or Avila could flash back to guard. But Limmer is that next generation, that Rams interior guard center. They're all sewed up for the next 3 years. Avila will be at the end of his rookie contract in 2026, and that's where Dotson and Jackson are signed through. And Limmer is that next iteration along that offensive line. If Avila keeps progressing, I imagine he's got a second contract for the Rams. And so that's a good news thing. And then you're going to see how Kevin Dotson and Jonah Jackson age. Jackson gets hurt a lot. Remember, Jonah Jackson kind of a little bit reminds me of Roger Saffold. Early on in Roger Saffold's career with the Rams, he was always going out with some kind of pec or shoulder or some kind of injury. But Limmer, maybe Limmer will make the Rams forget the greatest Ram who never played for the team, Creed Humphrey. Okay, let's see. Tim, Tim, Wildman, I promise I'll come back to your questions. Let me blow through some of this stuff that I've been sitting on for a week. Stafford hamstring was a nothing burger. Jonah Jackson and Darius Williams are expected to be ready for Detroit. More nothing burgers. Again, it's just something that we used to talk about when I was working at the mid is when things are slow, it's called desperate dead period material. And the KBM has a tendency to blow these things out of proportion just because there's nothing else to talk about. Regarding Stetson Bennett, he's a third-string quarterback, guys. He's a third-string quarterback. That's all he was expected to be going into the season. Jimmy G is missing the first 2 weeks of a 17-game season. Who are they going to sign for 2 weeks who is close to knowing the Rams system? And I don't want to hear the suggestion I heard on a podcast, as I was devouring podcasts while on the road, that maybe they should bring back John Wolford. Really. Question, is Stetson Bennett or John Wolford? What do you prefer? This isn't a crisis, nor am I endorsing Stetson Bennett, just sharing for what it is. This is not that big of a deal. Whether or not Stetson Bennett, Ryan Tannehill, or whoever free agent quarterback is out there, probably Josh Johnson, right? Whatever quarterback comes in, it makes no difference. If Matthew Stafford goes down for any length of time, the season's toast, just like it would be for any team that loses a quarterback at his caliber. If the Bills lose Josh Allen, if the Chiefs lose Patrick Mahomes, I don't care who their backup quarterback is. They can fumble along, move along, become a team that's just over 500, make the playoffs and get their butt kicked by who's healthy. This is not that big of a deal. It's kind of like everyone getting worked up about Stafford's hamstring, Darius Williams, and Jonah Jackson. Not that big of a deal. And I do not want to see the wolf back in horns. Aubrey Pleasant getting on the radar as an HC is terrific for the Rams. I think it shows the class of the organization. I think it's going to help them get assistant coaches more in the future that want to be here, people that want to be here. But I'm excited because I hope Aubrey Pleasant gets an HC job real soon, and the Rams can collect a couple of third-round comp picks. Around the NFL and other places, Creed Humphrey, the greatest Ram who never was, signed an extension, 4 years, 72 rocks. 50 of those rocks are guaranteed. That's 18 rocks a season for the center. Good for him. And I'm sure Patrick Mahomes is a lot happier that Creed Humphrey is there than Tyreek Hill. 2 Super Bowls without Tyreek Hill. Falcons give massive extension to cornerback A.J. Terrell. And the Vikings signed free agent quarterback Stephon Gilmore, who was floating around out there. Chargers waived quarterback Matt Duggan, right? That guy was a popular dude. Seahawks trade Darrell Taylor to the Bears. They didn't have much of a pass rush there in Seattle, and I know they're rebuilding that defense, and Taylor goes to the Bears. That's a good pickup for the Bears. Taylor's out of the NFC West. As Jahan Dotson, the former Taxkins #1 pick back in 2022, 16th overall wide receiver, he was sent within the division to Philly. I mean, how little did the Taxkins think of Jahan Dotson that they traded him within the division, right? And I'm really thinking the Eagles thinking they could rescue his career, and we're about to find out there. 49ers, they did sign somebody. They re-signed Logan Thomas, But Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams are still no-goes, and it's marvelous, right? It's beautiful. It's a wonderful, wonderful day to be a Ram fan, to see those issues going on with the 49ers. And just hopefully it continues and we can all enjoy it. Taxkins have signed former Rams linebacker Justin Hollins, former Ram undrafted free agent tight end Neil Johnson, the guy that modeled the uniforms and was cut by the Rams about a month ago, was signed by the Jets. He got waived by the Jets and has been signed by the Vikings. Interesting. Former Rams DB Tyler Hall was released by the Eagles, and former Rams 7th-round pick out of Concordia, St. Paul, a little bit of a darling of the 2021 camp, Chris Garrett, was signed by the Arizona Cardinals. Garrett has gone from the Rams, the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Houston Gamblers, the St. Louis Battlehawks, and now to the Cardinals. And with all that time, all those places, he's only appeared in one NFL game, and that one NFL game was in 2021 for the Rams. Cards also signed former Ram UDFA defensive lineman TJ Carter, and the Browns have signed former Rams kicker Lucas Havrasik. Let's see here. Just before we get to break, just going around the NFL and other places, just taking a peek here. Do you realize this is Kyler Murray's 6th season in Arizona? He just turned 27, but this is his 6th season. He is under contract through 2028 with no real cap flexibility until 2027. And at what point, right? It's always like we're waiting for Kyler Murray. We're waiting. And I know there was knee injuries, and I know there's other issues, but they're waiting for Kyler Murray. We're waiting. 21, 22, 23, no playoffs. I'm always amazed when people put Kyler Murray up at the top of some list there all the time. Just it fascinated me as I was looking at the NFC West. All right, I'm Joe Terosian. I was a sports writer for 21 years. I was one of the founding members of Mid-Valley Sports. Now I do this. And thanks to our sponsor, Kistler Law. Please check them out, KistlerLawFirm.com. And, of course, Temple City Auto Repair. And I do this, and I write books, and my books are on Amazon. You can check them out at Amazon.com and just type in Joe Terosian. And my latest book, Game Day in the Ram Cave, is I finally got the cover thing figured out. And it is processing, and I'm thinking by Monday, we'll be able to release that book. And so we're excited about that. And all these things help keep me employed with my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene, and we are right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, and of course at burbankfaithvirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual, all across social media. If you have any questions about that stuff, feel free to reach out to me. All right, got a couple more questions from the Wild Man and Mr. Powers. Let's see here. Wild Man speaking about Limmer. I hope so, in terms of maybe Limmer pushing Avila back to guard. I think Limmer was a steal in the draft. It's sure looking that way right now. We'll see how he holds up, and again, what it looks like during the regular season. I do not think they're going to try to pass him through any kind of waivers and practice squad him. I think he's going to make the team. That whole offensive line, we're going to talk about that on the back half of this episode, has been fantastic. And I know they're going against second team, third team, and soon to be unemployed, but they've been fantastic. Tim Powers, Tomlinson going to make the team. He's talking about THT. Yeah, THT is on my radar right now to be unemployed. And I might bring that up. Maybe I'll just bring that up right now. It only took the Rams 2 years to move off Robert Rochelle. And it looked like at 2021, Robert Rochelle was developing into something. He didn't get much playing time in 2022. And then coming out of August last year, he was cut. And funny thing is, you haven't seen his name pop up anywhere. And I think THT was really expected. I remember them saying if he was 3 inches taller, he'd have been drafted on the first day or the second day. And he just doesn't look good. He just hasn't looked good. He's probably a guy that needs to adjust in the NFL. If the Rams keep him, it means he gets waived, passes through waivers, and goes to the practice squad. And then, or maybe he gets waived and he signs UFL, plays this spring, because he just needs reps. If he's got talent, he just needs reps, and he needs to learn the pro game. But I think he's in trouble. Wildman Samurai. Who steps up for Alaric Jackson now that he's out for 2 games? While Big Rob be healthy on the O-line. I think you got to play Joe Noteboom at left tackle, right? Wouldn't you? If you have to put McClendon at right tackle, you put McClendon at right tackle. If Havenstein is struggling, the word is Havenstein's going to be fine, but it's got to be Noteboom, right? Noteboom's got to be the first one up, and so that's what I'm thinking. Let's see here. Tim Powers. Prescott went down some years back, about 4 games. Their backup went 4-0. Yeah, was that Cooper Rush, right? Cooper Rush. Yeah, and here's the thing. Cooper Rush to Dak Prescott is like Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott, right? Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott. Matthew Stafford is here, and then off camera is whatever the Rams have, right? Maybe Jimmy G is right here, but who are you going to get? Who are you going to get to come in, right? Who are you going to get to come in? Yeah, I'm not very high on Dak Prescott either. That tells you what I think about him. Tim Powers, Murray is healthy, will be much improved with Harrison Jr. Well, everyone's going to be improved with Marvin Harrison Jr., or they should be. But here's the thing: unless he's matured, unless Kyler Murray has grown up, this is a guy that after he gets hit a little bit doesn't want anymore, right? I'm going to go back to that 2021 playoff game against the Rams. That was horrible. He quit on his team. I lost. He's going to have to do something amazing for me to get back on his bandwagon at any time soon where you believe in him. When nothing goes right, we used to see this when mostly in high school football, because when we were covering high school football at the Mid, we're on the sideline, which is the best theater around. You don't want to pay tickets to a Broadway show. What you want to do is be a prep football reporter and get on the sideline, and then you're that much closer to the drama. In the stands for college football or the pros, you can't hear it when you're up in the press box. But, boy, you'd be surprised how many times quarterback comes off the field and he throws a horrible pass, and instead of talking to his coach coming off the field, he's already yelling and saying it wasn't my fault, it was somebody else's fault, pointing fingers. And that's Kyler Murray. Up to this point, I don't have any faith in him. But I do have faith in the Cardinals right now because I think they're putting together a pretty good team. And I don't think they're a threat right now, but I think they could be dangerous in 2025. And Kyler Murray is the pivot point there. Good question. Tim Burns, Joe T, good to see you, Mr. Burns. Thank you so much for clicking on. Wildman Samurai, what's your prediction? What's your prediction for our Rams this year? Well, we talked about it in the summer with actually Mr. Burns there. We were talking about it during the summer. High end, looking at this Rams schedule, everyone being healthy, high end, we see the Rams 13-4. Low end, I see the Rams 11-6. I think the 49ers are stepping back. I don't think the Seahawks are ready, and I believe the Cardinals are a year away. Rams can get 5 wins within the division. I think they can get 5 wins within the division, and then you get the tough ones. You get the tough ones at home. You get Miami at home. You get the Vikings at home. There's only a couple of winter games that you're looking at. They get the Bears in Soldier Field, but in September. And Caleb Williams looks like, okay, maybe he's going to be something special, but he might not be special by the end of September. It might take him a little more time to get acquainted and acclimated to the NFL. So the Rams schedule lends itself to a good record. I can see 13-4, low end 11-6 if everyone's healthy. Last year when we were on the air, we were just gagging at what Vegas was saying, 4.5, and we were gagging at what we were hearing the KBM media say about the Rams winning 6 games. We were here. We said low end Rams are 8-10. I think we said 8-10. I think we said high end Rams win 10 games, and the Rams won 10 games. And I guess that's tooting my own horn, but you got to do it because no one else is going to do it for you. There we go. Tim Burns, Spates looks good, and we may have a yeast infection, and we may have a yeast. Are you speaking well of Russ Yeast? I like Russ Yeast's versatility. He plays safety, and he can play that star position. It's just an interesting thing the way Jalen McCullough's played some of that star. The Rams are developing some depth there in the secondary that's exciting, real exciting to see. Spates does look good, but who's looked good is Jake Hummel, right? And with the Rams and anywhere, you just can't imagine. They're not going to keep 5 guys at linebacker. Ernest Jones, right? Christian Roseboom. And then you got Troy Reeder, who makes everyone feel good. He probably makes the coaching staff feel good because he got significant snaps in the Super Bowl and in that Super Bowl run. Rams won a Super Bowl with Troy Reeder getting significant snaps at linebacker in 2021. So I think he gives them that safe feeling at linebacker like John Johnson does at safety. And so, you wonder, would they move off Troy Reeder? But Jake Hummels looked really good. And Spates, I don't think Spates survives waivers. I don't think he does, right? He's putting some hits on him, special teams. And what was the Rams' weakness last year? Special teams, right? And that's going to be a real tough call for them because I don't think he survives a waiver and then practice squad appointment. I think you can almost put Jake Hummel through and he goes to the practice squad. He makes it to the practice squad. But Omar Spates, I don't know. I don't think so. I think the Rams lose him if they mess around too much. Tim Burns, Bennett added 6, should have been 7 drives in 2 games in turnovers. Again, I talked about Bennett early. He's a third string quarterback. Sometimes your quarterback room goes down. Sometimes you lose your second string. Sometimes you lose your first string. If Bennett has to play week 1 or week 2, it's the issue. The Rams can recover. Rams can go 0-2, and you can recover, okay? Part of that 13-4 high end is not guaranteeing a victory in Detroit on opening night. And then the second week they're in Arizona, right? So the Rams could go 0-2, 1-1 to start the season, and then Jimmy G can come in. The issue here is not whether or not Stetson Bennett plays. The issue here is Matthew Stafford going down for any significant time, and then the whole season is church. It's over, man. It's over. So for a third-string quarterback, I'm perfectly happy with Stetson Bennett. Who do you want to see? You want to see the Wolf back? I don't want to see the Wolf back, and that's what I heard on some Rams media that I was listening to driving cross country. 6,000 miles, 3,000 to Pennsylvania, 3,000 back, and I got to contemplate John Wolford? Please. Anyway, Wildman Samurai, strengths and weaknesses of our team in your opinion. Also, when do we draft a quarterback to take over for Stafford leaves in a few years? I think that's on the table next year. I think they're just going to keep developing, and it's going to be on how Stafford plays. It could be second day. It could be second day if Stafford really struggles. And it could be third day if it's just like, hey, man, we got to develop here. Because believe it or not, if Bennett sticks, here's the funny thing. He'll already be going, oh, no, I don't know if last year counts against him because he didn't play. So the Rams would have 3 more years with him. But that doesn't mean the Rams wouldn't draft some kind of developmental quarterback. And from what I understand, the draft this year outside of the Georgia guy, Carson Beck, doesn't look like it would be too deep of a draft. If you got to take somebody in the 6th round or 7th round, provided he hasn't collected his Social Security yet, I would look at Utah quarterback Cam Rising, right? That guy's been around since I was in high school playing for Utah, and he'd be a fun guy to take in the late rounds next spring. Let's see here. Let me see if I answered that. And the strength and weaknesses, you just want to see Bobby Brown kind of continue that slow progress he's been making, and you want to see Tyler Davis to fulfill that excitement he gave us in week 1 against Dallas this preseason. That's where the Rams are vulnerable. I think they just want that 3-spin Bubba right there in the center of the line, right? Just clogging things up, right? Ashawn Robinson did that. Of course, he did that kind of spottily. He did that when he felt like it. That's why he's not a Ram anymore. But you know what? He stepped up in the Super Bowl. And so you just need one of those Bubbas in there just to eat space. And if those guys develop, I think the Rams are going to be okay. Everything else on the defense, I'm happy with. You just want to see Josh Carty develop. And other than that, I'm pretty comfortable. And then Matthew Stafford staying healthy. There's a lot of strengths on this team, and not a lot of weaknesses. Not a lot of weaknesses. Let's see here. Tim Burns, does Mathis get a spot with that 87, or does Hampton Davis get the nods? Here's the interesting thing about Ochoan Mathis is he was held out first game, came back and played in the second game. Usually when a guy doesn't play, you think he's made the team. And I don't know about that, right? So you're running. You're going to run Verse. You're going to run Young. You're going to run Hoyt, and Hoyt's a little flexible, right? You could put Hoyt's hand down in the dirt, maybe, and move him inside a little bit. And then you've got Mathis, Hampton, Brennan Jackson, and Von Valkenburg. Outside of losing contain a little bit on some of his pass rush this preseason, Van Valkenburg has looked good. He's looked really good, and an extremely poor man's Kevin Green, at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not I like Mathis's speed, but he might be just one of those guys you just got to get it all together. They can have all the, they can have all the physical talent in the world, but do they have that motor? Do they have that will? Do they have that drive? So that will be interesting. Tim Powers, haven't heard anything about. Oh yeah, Carnage Jackson. Yeah, we were just talking about Brendan Jackson. Soft tissue injury. Haven't seen him play. I don't know. Do they put him on the IR and lose him for a month? That might be a way to tuck him away for a while, and such, and see how it plays out. I don't think they're going to waive him. I don't think they want to put him through waivers. We heard so many positive things early about him. So if he doesn't play this week, I got to imagine they'll IR him. And what do you lose? You lose a month, I think, 4 weeks if you go through that. So we'll see about that one. Tim Burns, love Xavier Smith going to punt returns for 2 punt returns for 50 yards. Yeah, we're going to talk about that here in a second too. I promise you, we're going to talk about that. And Tim Powers, Hummel is solid. Hummel looks way better than he did a year ago, right? He looks really confident out there, and he looks much, much quicker, right? Manny Correa, what's up? Thanks for clicking on, Manny. Tim Burns, darn good to get RamView on again. Missed Joe T. I missed all the dudes giving questions to him. Joe knows his Rams. Hey, man, thanks a lot, Tim. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. I thank you guys for sticking with me. Being off the air in August probably wasn't the wisest choice, but it's just happened the way it happened. Manny in the house. Manuel Correa. What's up, Mr. Powers? Tim Burns. A stat I didn't know. Avila played every snap last year. I saw that. Yeah, Avila's gold, right? He's gold, baby. He's gold. And, who knows? Who knows how this next year and a half develops? We don't want to heed the words of the wolf a little bit, and not get too excited about Bo Limmer just yet. But the way that dude's playing, if he develops, could he flash to guard? Could Avila flash to guard and stuff? And again, that's the window the Rams are in. We're going to find out, because this interior of the offensive line is sewed up for the next 3 years. It's Avila at center, Kevin Dotson at right guard, and Jonah Jackson at left guard. And if that's sewed up, by the time 2027 rolls around, that will be Limmer's 4th year. And by that point, if there's injuries or something, he'll have played. Because right now he looks like he's definitely going to make this team, right? And we'll talk about that here in a minute. Manny Correa, does Omar Spates make the team? We just talked about that, Manny. Yeah, that's a real possibility, right? But again, you're talking Ernest Jones, Christian Roseboom, who played well last year for a guy that's a career special teamer. Troy Reeder, who's the John Johnson of the linebacker room. I think he's just ancient and makes everyone feel good. And then you got Hummel, and then you got Spates. And at this point, if they're not going to get rid of Troy Reeder, because there's a comfort factor having Troy Reeder, then I would think that you could pass Hummel through waivers and put him on the practice squad a lot easier than you could Spates. I think Spates would be grabbed. All right. Tim Burns, why are special teams returner? We are a special teams returner away from a really solid, well-rounded team. That kickoff stuff's going to be real exciting, I think, in terms of giving other guys a chance, right? And I think there's somebody on the team. I like the way Tyler Johnson looked. I like the way Xavier Smith looked, right? We heard about him at Florida when they signed him last year out of Florida A&M, year on the practice squad, and he's looking really good. Wildman Samurai, do you think Limmer starts week 1? That would open up Steve to move back to guard. I just think he belongs, and he doesn't look like a rookie at all. I don't think so. Jonah Jackson would have to be seriously banged up for that to happen. They invested too much dough into him. And when Avila was drafted, they said his first position was center. I know everyone's hot for Limmer, but I think they're going to hold off right now. So there we are on that. And yes, Tyler Johnson had a great catch. Are you talking Tyler Johnson? Hope I got that right. My mind's in a fog here, Mr. Burns. And so, yeah, he looked good. They've all looked good, right? Okay, real quick, before we get some Rams updates, I keep hearing about interceptions because they're talking about Matthew Stafford and they're talking about Stetson Bennett. Just don't buy, and I've talked about this before, don't buy interception talk. You know, Matthew Stafford led the NFL in picks in 2021 with 17. And oh, by the way, he won a Super Bowl that year. And the most amazing thing with all the analytics we see in our culture nowadays with everything, how come analytics is not breaking down interceptions and, basing them on that was the receiver's fault for running the wrong route, handing it to the receiver for tipping the ball and doing all those things, which instead the quarterback instead has to take all those picks, right? There's so many variables involved with an INT, right? Like Stetson Bennett's interception in the end zone. That was a fourth down play. He couldn't eat the ball. They would have yelled at him, and I would have yelled at for throwing it out of the end zone. There was no place to go, and he fired the ball. It got picked. It wasn't a great pass, but again, that was a fourth down play, right? And so it's real important that we look at those. And remember, Patrick Mahomes threw 14 interceptions last year and won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, who's been anointed by so many as a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford, threw 15 last year. Again, you gotta take into consideration what those interceptions are and how they are. Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford threw 2 picks. One was Ben Skoranek tipping the ball up and getting picked off. The other one was at the end of the first half. It was a long throw, and of course it was to Van Jefferson, who won't contest for anything, and it got picked off there. So just something to think about when we talk about interceptions. I will get back to the questions here, guys, in a minute. Ramsign, running back, former Texas Tech guy. He's a UDFA. He's bounced around the league last year. So Roderick Thompson, 5'11", 207. I think he's just a guy that's going to fill some space this weekend, get cut. And, who knows? He might get called back to the practice squad. Of course, the Rams have released Jerry Jacobs. We talked about THT. He's in trouble. The team has missed on some corners in the draft, right? Robert Rochelle, they had him for 2 years. They moved right off of him. The team let David Long play his whole contract out. Was he a third round pick out of Michigan in 2019, and he played through 2022. He's not even in the NFL anymore, or he's bouncing around. Tomlinson came in with a lot of promise, a lot of hype, but with Darius Williams returning, the play of McCullough and Wallace, I think THT is definitely on the bubble. At best, he's a practice squad guy if he stays in LA. A couple other things I wanted to throw in here. I've advocated for Tutu Atwell. I like Tutu Atwell. I think the media, most Ram fans suffer from TDS. That's Tutu derangement syndrome, because no matter what he does, they're going to find a way to put him down. But he is in the last year of his contract. And if the team puts Xavier Smith on the street, he's not going to make it back to the practice squad, right? And Whittington, we know, is going to make the team. So I could see Atwell. Not that I'm advocating for it, but I could see Atwell, especially if they said there was interest in him at the deadline last year. I could see Atwell being moved for a 6th or even a 7th. The Chargers have had so many injuries in their wide receiver room. Maybe they might want to make a move for Tutu Atwell and such, but that's what I see. Okay, here's something maybe a little more controversial. Rams running back room. Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, Boston Scott, and Ronnie Rivers are all the same guy physically. They're all the same guy. Rams aren't moving off Kyron. Rams aren't moving off Blake. They signed Boston Scott. He's getting a lot of playing time. And, it's almost like a prove it so you can make the team. And everyone says Zach Evans is the odd guy out. But being the fact that Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, and Boston Scott are all the same guy, what does the team lose if it moves off Ronnie Rivers and keeps Zach Evans? Something about Zach Evans to me is just, man, keep this dude around. He's improving. He hasn't turned into Marcus Allen yet when it comes to blocking, but he has improved in his blocking in protecting the quarterback. He stepped up a little bit. Plus Evans is 23. Rivers is 25 and he turns 26 this January. And I don't know if you lose anything if you release Rivers. Now, Rivers hasn't played this preseason, which likely means he's going to make the roster. But if the Rams keep 4 running backs, they're all physically the same back. And I think Zach Evans, I don't know. I just like to see the Rams give him a shot. Looking at the Rams offensive line, we talked about this. Bo Limmer, 6'5", 307. He played 44 snaps in week 1. He played 50 snaps last week, and all of his grades on PFF ticked up. The dude's going to be on the active 53. And we talked about that. Guy no one's talking about that probably should be is Logan Bruss. He comes in at 6'5", 309. He played 71 snaps in the opener, 50 this past week. His grades ticked down a little bit, but you can see that he's coming into his own, right? And you can't afford to lose Logan Bruss. If they try to slip him through waivers, they're going to lose him. And I think he's just starting to find his stride. The knee is healthy. He's gotten used to some of the stuff in the NFL. This guy is definitely someone to he's not Bobby Evans, right? He's somebody to give a shot to and stick around. Zachary Thomas, undrafted free agent, 6'5", 300. The guy's a guard. He's playing really well. Had the best summer of his career. He's miscast as a tackle. Another guy that's played really well is Warren McClendon, 6'4", 300. Left tackle he has been playing this preseason. And he's made a massive jump. And if he continues to progress, he'll be the reason why this is Joe Noteboom's last year in LA. He could become the next Joe Noteboom guy for us, the swing tackle. And because I can't imagine Noteboom being in LA after this year. And the dude that could be the odd man out as the 7th round pick a couple years ago is AJ Akuri, 6'7", 320. Dude's massive. He's improved. But right now in 2024 with Noteboom and McClendon on the team, it makes him the odd man out. If he stays, I'd love for him to stay because it's a testimony to Rams development, but he'll be on the practice squad. He will be. I can't see him making it through, making it to another team right now. But Rams have shown some depth this preseason, so pretty exciting stuff there. All right, let's see what else we got there. What's up, Manny? Whittington, Stoops, Spates should make it on the LA Rams. Stoops, I just don't think there's room for him. Tyler Johnson, Xavier Smith, Jordan Whittington, some guy named Nakua, some guy named Cup, some guy named D-Rob, and we haven't even mentioned Atwell. He would be the 7th. I don't think there's room for Stoops. I don't think there's room for Lapp. I don't think there's room for Wiglas. All those guys have looked pretty good. They've had their moments, and we'll see. We'll see if any of them can pass through waivers and make it to the practice squad. Omar Spates, we've made our argument for him. Absolutely. Wildman Samurai, your channel deserves tons of subscribers. Great info. Please keep up the good content. My name is Ryan. See ya, Rambro. All right. Thank you so much, Wildman. Please share. Everyone, like and subscribe. And here we go. Thank you so much. Tim Powers, don't want to see Tutu returning punts, goes down with a hand tackle. Well, let's see, right? Can we see how he looks? I want to see that speed on a kick return. I really do. I want to see that speed on a kickoff return, and we'll see how it goes. Tim Powers, true comment on Ram backs. Keep Evans. Thank you. Because they're all the same guy, right? They're all the same guy, and Zach Evans just provides that little bit of a changeup. And Evans can catch the ball as well. But I got to believe the thing that's holding him back was that ability to protect the passer. We've seen the improvement on that this summer. Absolutely. Bill, is Noteboom the only logical choice to start the first 2 games at left tackle? Yeah, I think they're still paying him 8.5 rocks this year. He better be the starting left tackle for that kind of bread. And here's the thing about Noteboom. Let's remember, he jumped in 2021 and filled in for Andrew Whitworth during that postseason run. Noteboom has shown that he can spot play anywhere along that offensive line with the exception of center. He just didn't have a great start to 2022. Of course, he tore his Achilles, 5 games in, and he opened up with Von Miller coming off the edge, and everyone went south on Noteboom. I just think, I think he can get the job done. I think maybe he's a tick below Alaric Jackson, so he's got to be the left tackle. Bill, any possibility the Rams make a trade for a left tackle? I would say no. I would say no at this point. But you know what? Who knows what McSnead's going to do? Willie Bowen, Noteboom will be the starting left tackle. All right. Bill, are you comfortable with our cornerback situation? I believe definitely. I think Jacob's being put in the street, and the play of McCullough and Wallace tells us the Rams feel like they've got depth there. So I believe Darius Williams is coming back. They say Tre'Davious White has been outstanding. So there's depth there. Kobe Durant has had a good camp. And then on top of that, you're looking at Cam Kitchens, Cam Curl, John Johnson. So that frees Quentin Lake up to be the star. Russ Yeast has looked good. That star guy is kind of like a hybrid corner anyway. So I think the Rams do have coverage. The odd man out, though, as we talked about earlier in the show, is THT. Bill, I second Ryan. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. What's your opinion on the tight end position? I heard people coming down on Davis Allen. I've liked the catch. I made notes. I like the catches Davis Allen makes. Is he going to be Tyler Higbee? He's not going to be Tyler Higbee. That's why they took Colby Parkinson as a free agent. Davis Allen could be this next generation Gerald Everett, right? Gerald Everett was drafted higher than Tyler Higbee. And in 2017, Higbee was 2016. And he was, Jared Everett was drafted higher, but it was Higbee who got the extension because Higbee can catch and Higbee can block, and he understood the offense better. Gerald Everett provided moments, and I think that's kind of where Davis Allen is. We're going to find out real quick when the season starts in terms of reps. How many snaps is Davis Allen getting? He made key contributions down the stretch last year, and some of that could have been because he was the only one left in the room, but he made key contributions. Bryson Hopkins, who he was being compared to, Bryson Hopkins never saw the field until everyone was injured in the Super Bowl. He caught 4 passes, and this is why I'm always pro Bryson Hopkins, not just because he was 4th round out of Purdue, but because he's the guy that got the seal block that freed Cooper Kupp on the jet sweep on 4th down on the final drive. He doesn't get that block. Kupp doesn't get the first down. And we are crying a river because the Rams would have lost the Super Bowl at home. So I am pro Bryson Hopkins. He's not any place in the NFL right now. I don't think Davis Allen is Bryson Hopkins. But you know what? Can you tell the difference between Miller Forrestall, Nikolai Kalanick, and Hunter Long, right? Hunter Long feels like a guy right now. And I know he's had injuries, but he feels like a guy. Tim Burns, can you make a call from your other job and have us have an injury-free season? Yeah, okay. I'll do that, right? Because it'll be good emotionally for us all, right? Of course, the balance of that is, the Lord's probably going to say, if you want the Rams to win, you got to come to church. And that was one of our things growing up, that if you didn't go to church and the Rams lost, it was your fault, right? Now, I didn't go to church during Super Bowl 14, and the game, of course, didn't start till 3 p.m, and I wanted to watch the pre-game show, right? And because I didn't go to church, my brother came home from church and said, if the Rams lose today, it's going to be your fault. And I said, oh, shut up, blah, 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 right? And then the 4th quarter comes around, the Rams are up, and then the whole Eddie Brown situation happens. And I was thinking about that. Maybe I jinxed the Rams because I didn't go to church. So, yeah, that you might want to read my book. We do cover some of those type of things. Tim Powers, Stetson made poor throws to Allen in the Chargers game. Bennett missed some throws. He flat out missed some throws. But so, yeah, you can't hold Allen responsible for that. And you got to remember, Bennett is supposed to be a 3rd-string quarterback. That's all he's supposed to be. Let's see. Who does our 6-man noteboom remind you of going back to the 70s? Oh, man. 6th-man noteboom going back to the 70s. Well, doggone. Rams offensive line, 73 through 74 was Iman, Shabelli, and John Williams. And then it was Charlie Cowan and Tom Mack on the left side. And then Hara replaced Shabelli. Doug France replaced Charlie Cowan. Rick Saw replaced Ken Einman. And then that line was set for a while. Jackie Slater replaced John Williams. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a sixth man offensive lineman. I can't place it. You stumped me. There you go. I know by 80 you brought in the guy from Penn State, Irv Pankey, and then Bill Bain came in. I get all excited talking about Rams offensive linemen, but I can't remember who would have been a backup offensive lineman in those days. Ed Fulton, Donnie Hickman, some of those guys. So help me out there, Bill. Tim Burns, going to speak blasphemy, but I felt McVay overthought the game plan in 2021 too. We pulled it out anyway. Opinions. Wow. I thought he managed it well considering we had no receivers and everyone knew he was throwing to. That's what's got to suck as a Bengal fan. You knew Stafford was going to Cup and you still couldn't stop him. I believe the other way. OBJ doesn't go down. I think the Rams win by 2 touchdowns because they had no answer between Cup and OBJ. They had no answer that day. And think about that. The Rams won the Super Bowl with 2 linebackers, Ernest Jones as a rookie and Troy Reader at linebacker, right? But do you remember who the running backs were? They didn't even give Sony Michel hardly any touches. The running backs were Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers. Think about being hamstrung. And Tyler Higbee didn't even play in the Super Bowl. I mean, whoa, right? Ben Skoranek was making plays in the Super Bowl. I thought McVay did a really good job. Just my opinion on that one. Tim Burns, we should have won by 20. And I think if he had played, if OBJ had finished, I think the Rams would have. Man, we went long.
It was a stone group, my man.
Okay, let's look at this real quick. On this day in 1971, the Rams waived Randy Vataha. 9 days later, he signed by the New England Patriots. That season, he catches 51 passes, averages 17 yards a catch, and scores 9 touchdowns from his college quarterback, Jim Plunkett, at Stanford. Randy Vataha became a sports agent afterwards. On this day in 2010, the Rams signed a wide receiver who looked like he was going to be something special. He was in St. Louis, of course. Does anyone remember Denario Alexander? He was an undrafted free agent, 6'5", 217, out of Missouri, but the Rams signed him. They cut him, signed him, brought him back from the practice squad that rookie year. And he caught 4 passes, including the 37-yard touchdown from Sam Bradford. Over 2 years with the Rams, he caught 46 passes, and then 37 with the Chargers in 2012. But he always had recurring injuries. And he played 26 games, but the Rams had signed him, and he looked good. It's just his injuries, knee cut short his career. On this day in 2021, the Rams waived quarterback Devlin Duck Hodges. Remember Duck Hodges had a little cup of coffee with the Rams? And of course, on this day in 2024, tomorrow, since we're not on the air, on August 24th, 1989, the Rams re-signed Steve Dills. And I was at Ram camp in 88 when he got released. That was an interesting moment to have that experience. In 1992, Rams traded on August 24th, traded Frank Stamms to the Browns. Remember Frank Stamms, the Notre Dame linebacker, traded him to the Browns for an 8th-round pick. And in 1993, the Rams released defensive end Mike Peel. The Steve Dill story is interesting because the Rams got him in the mid-'80s. He's back at quarterback. His moment was he led the Rams to a Monday night victory in Chicago in 86, right after Chicago had won the title in 85. Lansford kicked a bomb field goal, and they won that game. But in 87, in 88, I was going to Rams Park. I was going to interview Michael Stewart, and they had screwed up with their public relations. So I'm being walked through, and Gooman and Steve Dills passed me, and they'd been released that day. And that was real awkward. So these guys are passing me. I knew who they were. They were pissed. They were really upset. And so they're upset and they're walking by. They didn't do anything rude to me. They just walked right by. I wasn't going to say anything. And then I went into the dining area, and it was like entering a high school cafeteria, and everyone was going crazy, and it was just, they were all having a good time. it's just the nature of football, right? A guy gets cut, and life goes on, right? And just a reminder that, we're all replaceable. There we go. All right. I think we got it in. Guys, thanks so much for joining me today. Wildman, thank you. Mr. Powers, thank you. Tim Burns up in the great north part of California. Manny, Willie, Bill, thank you guys so much for clicking on. I do appreciate it. So we're going to get rolling here. I love the Rams. I love the Rams too. I actually picked this up in Gettysburg, right? I'm walking through a shop and they had this thing there in Gettysburg. Is that pretty cool or what? So I had to buy it, right? So there we go. All right. Defense is going to be better this year. Okay, guys. God bless. Take care. We'll be back on Monday as things get back to where they should be. And we'll go. I pushed the wrong button. All right. I pushed the wrong button. There we go. That's what happens when you're off for 3 weeks. Okay. We're going to go. Guys, thanks so much. Leave your questions. My email is in there. Email me if you have any questions, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.